Protest! Going all the way up. Turning right.
Keep pushing, and JB.
He's just trying to get to load. Facing the right. All clear.
Protest here. Big risk to the collision.
In a match race, beating your opponent is all that matters. Boat speed helps, but you also need to know the rules inside out and how to use them to your advantage. But as boat speeds have increased, so too is the challenge for the umpires, not least because it's become impossible to keep up with the race boats when they're doing over 40 knots. So as the current generation of America's Cup racing has evolved, there have been some big changes in how the racing is run, starting with bringing the umpires ashore. To find out how this works, I met up with Chief Umpire Richard Slater. So talk us through what you can see then when you're watching them.
So I've grabbed, for example, a race from the final preliminary regatta. This was the New Zealand Italy one, because there's been a few penalties in that, and so we thought we'd show it. We get to see the racetrack that Ian and his team produce. So you can almost see Barcelona head, Barcelona, the flag area that's built, and then the racetrack that sits inside it. So the white area is the racetrack. What we have also is things like there's the boundary area. So the grey is just to again visually show us where the boundary is, and we get down and sorry, I'm doing my left hand problem here. And we can get down and look at the boats as well. So I'll just play it. So, for example, what we're doing here is just watching New Zealand sailing around. What we get on that, if I just let me just stop it. We get the data of the boat. So we've got New Zealand, we've got them red, so they're on port. We know what their course is, their speed. We have their apparent wind angle. We can change that if we want, and we have the wind speed. We use that helps sort of set us. We also then have, I think we've talked about in the past, the boats have these two diamonds around them. The inside diamond is what we will use for going start lines, boundaries, finish line. It's equivalent to saying that's where the boat is. And that's to take into account the furthest part of where the foils could be. We also then have another line that's sort of outside that, which is the keep clear border. And what that's doing is to give us the rules side of it, where we don't want boats pushing. You talked about the old days and the boats would push closer, and sometimes a little tap is a way to make sure an umpire gives you a decision. Well, we don't want that. So what we do here is we have the boundaries, and if the boundaries touch, it's the old school of boats have touched. So once you get to that point, we know someone's going to get a penalty.
And can the sailors themselves see that boundary on the boat? Do they have a display that shows that?
I believe so. Their tactile display will show, and it may not be like this, but it'll show both the boundaries. So they will get an idea of how to see it. Again, they're looking at a tactical display doing 24 knots right now, so I'm assuming it's not as comfortable, not as easy, but that tactical display is there for them too.
So if they were pushing a situation where they were luffing someone up and they were trying to get a penalty on a windward boat, for example, they may well be glancing down the display as to when those two things cross.
I could imagine it. And looking from watching the show after racing, it seems that the second helm, while they're doing everything else they need to do and trimming, they will also be doing some form of looking at that display for those.
Right.
The other thing we have as an umpire tool is we use a line that comes out in front of the boat. What that is basically imagine saying in 3 seconds, based on their course and speed, where will the boat be? As you speed up, that line gets bigger. As you slow down, it gets smaller. But we can also put our ghost boat onto that, so we have a visual representation. That's a really good thing, especially for port starboard crosses, in that it's almost these can still be 100 metres apart, but we therefore know in 3 seconds there was going to be a crash if they didn't bear away, or in 3 seconds they would have missed. So it sometimes doesn't work as well, but it's especially for windward leeward, but we learn to read that. I'll just go back out and start playing. That's the best way. So we get to look at the boats coming in. We get to see, so the start line, we would normally have a line built, but this is a replay, so it doesn't show it. So we've got the Italians and the Kiwis coming in for their pre-start. Just speed this up. So it looks, now we're doing 41 and 39 knots, but it looks quite calm and relaxing. Our tools then basically go, and I think if you remember this one we talked about, there was a cross here when New Zealand come back onto starboard. There's the green, and we get to see the two boats come together.
45 for the boat. Nice and smooth. No worries. Yeah, nice. Yeah, just you and the wall. Yeah, the wall. Yeah, with the wall.
So you saw New Zealand speed drop. They come at there, and then Italy just don't do enough. And there's a little flash saying the boundaries have done it. So if we wanted to, if we missed it as umpires, we can actually go in and at any time just replay and have a look at when those boundaries, how they hit and when they hit.
And so what that's showing, that, as you say, the ghost boat in front is giving you the heads up that this could be an issue, because when you ran that before, it's clearly a conflict as it comes through. So that gives you the heads up, this might be an issue.
That's right. And then in that case, we thought that Italy certainly could turn. We've seen them turn quite nicely, and they sort of just went for a nice speed turn or something, but they just got it wrong, and got there. And so we can go down, like we can go crazy if we wanted to, as you've seen me, where we can come back and go, that was the borders were about 1.14 meters away. So if we really wanted to get the numbers, but as you saw, it flashes. We don't. In a perfect world, we'd rather get the answer quickly. Our job is get the right answer, and then second job is to get it quickly. So.
No worries. Yeah, nice. Yeah, just you and the wall. Yeah, the wall. Yeah, with the wall. He hasn't got speed attack, so just got it still.
This is the umpires. Penalty Italy. Penalty Italy.
You must be kidding me.
You asked about the protest?
Yes, so having done that, so then what happens next? You see that,
so
presumably the Kiwis
now have protested.
Right, so first of all, you can't do anything until they protest. It's not up to you to make a decision. You only respond to a request from a boat.
We're that umpire, so like cricket, we wait for an appeal and then we answer it. We do have a few things we can protest for or penalise for, but and that would be like boundaries and stuff, but most of sailing is about waiting for a team to tell us they're upset, and then we answer it. So in this case, we've seen in New Zealand had gone past, they have protested. Our software allows us to then open that up and make decisions, but I'm in replay, so I can't show you that one. But you'll find, I also know that the blue means that the umpire at that point was then clicking the buttons to put the protest on, and then a second later there's the penalty for Italy's penalty. Imagine we see that, and we have a little dot that says, yep, Italy's got a penalty to remind us. That's also going out. The guys who did all this, that's also then immediately going to the TV, who can do the graphics for that. They can, all of the the communications goes across more than. And the boat will also get a big red sign on their display going, you've got a penalty. So.
A sustainable future. Yanmar.